things that you and I buy today can indeed be produced locally. But there is a limitation why all the issues we've seen will remain unless we address that particular issue. How did China become a significantly successful entity? It's because they leverage their low cost in producing things for the world. 90% of what you and I carry in this room are produced in China. But remember, in the 70s, made in China was crap. You go to China, you see clusters of businesses in one place doing the same thing. Why won't their unit cost be better than any other person in the world? So vision, scale, and quality are things that are opportunity areas for us. Let's sell the dream of conquering the world to ourselves. A man with vision is dangerous. You know, my people perish for lack of. So vision, horizon, knowledge, and audacity. The president asked me a few things about Tony Elumelu, and I told him the man is audacious. Big, hairy, audacious goals, isn't it? For a man to succeed, you need to dream big. They say shoot for the moon and you may get the top of the tree. Shoot for top of the tree, it may never start at all. So if you're going to dream, why not dream real big? So I think for those of us that spend our time in this kind of environment, our job is to help our people see the possibilities. And as the Bible said, the power of the sower, you keep sowing. Not everybody will capture, not everything will fall on fertile ground, but somebody will catch the opportunity, and suddenly we see exports growing. Then the rest of us will learn from it. The second is know-how. To run a big business is not easy. You know, all we do as businessmen is to give people standardized products, isn't it? Value products at the best cost. That's all we do. So if we are able to, as a nation, provide international market with the best quality products. Remember, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So best quality is American standard, European standard. Each one has their own standard. We must understand those standards very well.
So efficiency is the key word when we're talking standards. It's supposed to make you as efficient as possible for you to function at your premium level and still bring down costs, and the quality stays intact based on whatever industry it is. So taking what he says into consideration, yes, it could be for a variety of things. So what do we want people to do? We want them to have that understanding that quality is very important. We want them to know that whatever they're doing, their vision from the beginning of their business vision should have quality in mind, because the quality is what will take them beyond where they currently operate, or where they're starting. With that in mind, how do I get this quality? What are the guidelines I need to get this quality done? And that's when you start going into codes of how to process, of how to manufacture, of how to provide a service. Even businesses, even organizations such as ours, NGOs, can actually have a standard of operating that would actually help them, help us operate efficiently. So it is so easy for a standards of body to say, look, what's happening in this industry? Collect data from us so that we can give you information as to how to make those standards actually work. And it can be, you know, these are small companies that are involved in trying to find their feet financially, trying to put their books together, so standard is not the first thing they're thinking of. However, we're trying to say it should be, because if that is the first thing you think of, then you know where you're going.
So, without any iota of doubt, we know that standard should be the first thing. Last 2 weeks, one of the regulatory authority, son, came to our office to tell us about 339 standard. NACC also, the DG came to Lagos 2 weeks ago, so 3 weeks ago, to tell us the importance of standard. But our own thought, number one, is that to assess those standards, are they seamless? Talk of cost, talk of time. And these are the things we are going to discuss or we are discussing with the regulatory authority, we talk of cost. For our member to get all the standard in place, they pay a lot, and also the time. So, and you know MSMEs, I'm happy the moderator said we're supposed to put M there also, which is micro. We also joke in aspect that we also have so many of them that are even up to micro, based on the definition of micro. We talk of cottage, we even talk of kitchen. People that bake chin-chin in their husband kitchen or garage, they are not even yet micro, based on micro definition. So how can they meet those costs? And we are also talking about way of doing business in Nigeria that we have to really reduce cost.
The number of SMEs is high, and the number of large companies, so the P&Gs of this world, the Apple computers, is actually quite small. In Nigeria, you see a high number of micro, no SMEs, then you're coming up around Dangote, Femi Otedola, where you see them. But actually, those big companies don't create the bulk of employment. So the reason why we have such a huge unemployment issue in Nigeria is because these big companies they're never going to create the amount of new jobs that we need. In fact, evidence shows, if you look at the S&P 500 in America, that those companies have created net no new jobs in the past 20 years. So we need to grow our SME sector, not just so that we can all make a bit more money, but also to really lift the entire country out of poverty, because as we all know, we've seen the statistics, Nigeria actually has the highest number of people in the world living in poverty. So it really is a much larger issue. So to address the issue of standards, when we were building our company, Flying Doctors, we started with that in mind. But the only reason that we could start with the idea of high standards was, number one, because we understood the international environment and we understood the standards that our clients wanted to see. So I think you spoke very well to the issue of education and training and capacity building that you're doing for women. And I really, really like that point that you made, because unless you know what those international clients want to see and what your ideal customer wants to see, then you won't be able to adhere to that those standards. And I think that there's some issues in terms of market forces. I think that the main issues are not really around the market forces for SMEs in terms of competitiveness and setting standards. I think the real issues are around the evil forces, actually. And I'll just give a few examples of how, at least in the past 10 years, I've helped my own company and some smaller companies to wage war against spiritual warfare, against the evil forces. Yeah.
Interesting.
So I think the first of the evil forces and the biggest one is multiple taxation. So if you look at how much tax a corporate is supposed to be paying, then you're paying 30% of your profit. But if you do it according to the way it's supposed to be done, actually, all your assets, you're supposed to add the depreciation on all of those assets to the tax. Then you pay some other ITF, all of those, 1% of revenue. So 50% of your revenue can go to tax. But then you now forget that you're owing the bank, and the bank is charging you 20% on everything that you've made. So if you have your profit here, and you pay 50% already to FRS, you pay an additional amount to LRS, and then you pay 20% to the bank, then you actually have no money left to pay staff, to pay rent. So these are the kind of issues that affect our competitiveness.
You talked about China and the fact that the currency, but the question really is that, considering that most of the stuff that we'll consume in Nigeria will be import, because it's not so straightforward in terms of the currency that you talked about. So what can be done to ensure that at the very minimum we consume what we can produce, or rather not to import what we are consuming? So what are your thoughts about that?
I still think that in the areas of funding and support, women need to be given more support. Anywhere in the world, women are marginalized. When I go, we need a voice, we still need more support from them. Mr. Atasie said something about Oxfam looking for people to fund. I wonder why they haven't found our.
I don't want to sound like I don't like Nigeria, because I do have a pin-up here that has the flag of Nigeria. But let me be honest with you guys. Standard is university. Production is elementary. If you're talking about standard, you have gone to the university. Come back to elementary. Nigeria need to go back to basis. When palm oil was a king, granite was the king, the production was high. The only way we can get back to that now is not about access to finance, it's about the regulator. I was just returning from an East European trip and I visited Kenya, Ethiopia, and Rwanda. Do you know that between 6 a.m. and 8:30 a.m. there is a 1.6 million transaction in Kenya that happened through the mobile phone, through M-Pesa? And do you know how much it is? $200 to $1,000, not more. Do you know who these people are? Granite sellers, tomatoes, vegetables, fruits. They borrow money with their phone. They pay back before the end of the day to allow them to do that market within that window. 6 a.m., 8:30 a.m., 1.6 million transactions. The banks are redundant. The banks are begging. The banks want to come down. So the regulator is wrong because we have a very wrong approach in Nigeria. The Naira is dead because by the year 2050, Nigeria and Congo will be the poorest countries in the world. So let's stop to speak English and talk about standardization and talk about all these things. Let's go back and get our government to realize that we are heading to doom. So through the Nigerian-American Chamber of Commerce, through the Nextzon, through your group, through the doctors group, through all of our group, let's begin to bombard our government and tell them that our country is dying. The true value of a naira to a dollar, I told a group 7 days ago, they've been calling to say, Osita, why the true value of a naira to a dollar is 750. Stop hedging it and let it fall because it's falling. When it gets on that ground, we'll all pick it up and build it up again. Let's talk to our government, please.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Thanks so much for that contribution.
This breakfast meeting is about networking. We thank all of you for coming. We will keep doing breakfast meetings to bring people together to network and to grow their businesses and the economy. Once again, thank you for coming. Thank you, everyone.